Live on location. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. All right. There you go. So, yeah, we're going to be doing a live reaction to the NBA draft today. Check. Check, check. All right, perfect. All right. We will be going over every draft pick today, and we'll be also be going over live reactions to the draft, breaking down NBA draft picks. If there's any questions that happen in the chat, and anybody wants to ask something, just go ahead and say it, and we'll go over and ask it. All right. All right. So basically, how this is gonna work is, we're gonna have this live. We're gonna be live, and we're gonna react to every draft pick that gets put out, and it'll be fun. Wow. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe the number one pick is Pablo Banchero. Oh my goodness, is that a shocker? I mean, that guy on my big board, he's 3. And he's a good player, but he is definitely not a number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, I can't think of Pablo Banchero and think number 1 pick level guy. I mean, it's just I mean, he's gonna fit in 6'10" wise, and with his size and his ability to be a scorer. But this is a great example of terrible organizations making terrible picks, where this guy should have never been the number 1 pick. They're gonna look back at this and really regret this number 1 overall pick. I'm absolutely amazed that they just made this choice. It was terrible, really terrible. It doesn't get much worse than this because what you're doing is you are having the number 1 pick. You have to get it right. It's rare to have the number 1 pick. I mean, even Orlando Magic, probably this is probably the third time in the franchise history between Shaq, Dwight Howard, they've ever had a number 1 pick, and to have him going number 1 is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He's very much reminiscent for me of a 6'10" Paul Pierce, which is not a terrible player, but this Jabari Smith Jr. is really, really ridiculously special. And for him not to go number 1 is the craziest thing. I can't believe it. Um, if I had to give a live grade to him going number 1, I would probably put it at a C minus or a D plus, just because there's just so many better options out there, and they drafted a guy that just was terrible. I mean, this really impacts the draft board. It's going to put Jabari Smith in position to be drafted at a different spot than where was expected. So I'm amazed at this. And yeah, I can't believe it. And this is a terrible draft pick. Absolutely terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I just, I don't get um, how it can be so bad, because who is really willing to be I mean, I guess the best way of saying this is, this is really going to impact the rest of the draft, because I feel like everybody in the draft room was expecting Jabari Smith Jr. go number 1, and OKC's really got a dilemma here. Who do you choose? Do you choose Pablo, or do you choose not Pablo, Jabari Smith or Chet? I would be surprised if Jabari Smith falls to 3. That'd be a dream scenario, or even 4. That'd be extreme. But you know, if I'm the Thunder, I'm personally going Jabari Smith Jr. here. This is number 1 guy on my big board. I view him as a Paul George like player on both ends. So it's too talented to pass on here. And it's an easy draft pick. Very easy. Very, very easy. Yeah, and this is going to definitely lead to a bunch of tough situations coming up in the draft. But the Houston Rockets just gained a lot. I love Jalen Green. I had him as number 1 prospect coming out of the draft last year. Really high on him because of mix of perimeter shot creation skills and elite athletic traits. And you know, the Houston Rockets pre-draft were either going to get saddled with Pablo, or they're saddled with Chet or Ivy. It's just you would have thought that they would have been able to get Jabari Smith Jr., and the ability to get him here is really impressive. If they do get him at 3, it'll be amazing, and I would be really excited about it. Um, yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder really have a choice to make. They have to figure out who is their number one guy, and it's exciting. It's very exciting. Yeah. So it's very exciting from that aspect. So it's very excited about it. Oh my goodness, Chet Holmgren went number 2. Very wow. Okay, this is going crazy. This is a dream scenario for the Houston Rockets. I can't believe that this is actually happening. I mean, Jabari Smith Jr. might be the third pick overall. Chet Holmgren going to the Oklahoma City Thunder, I would probably give it a B because Jabari Smith Jr. was on the board. And the way I view him, he's my number one prospect, and it's by a lot. But having Chet Holmgren here is not the worst thing ever because of fit with the guard play. They got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey. It's going to be a good combination. Oklahoma City Thunder doesn't need to win today, so having Chet Holmgren develop, and he's going to get that time to develop, is going to be really important. So I'm very excited about this, and um, I'll be flabbergasted if Jabari Smith Jr. doesn't go right here because it's just way too good of a fit, way too good of a player to pass on. Um, yeah, it's a crazy, crazy draft. I would have never would have guessed this in a million years, ever. But when Pablo goes 1, there are dominoes that are going to fall, and Barry Smith Jr. could be that domino. If this really happens, and I'm gonna be amazed because Jabari Smith Jr. is just so special, so 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 special. All right, let's see where draft picks are at. Crazy. Who would have guessed in a million years this would be who would go 1 and 2? Um, I'm amazed. I'm truly and sincerely amazed by this. Houston Rockets, man. I feel like this is a no-brainer. No brainer. No brainer. This is definitely going to be. If this isn't Jabari Smith Jr., then there's something wrong with him. He's did something terrible in workouts, or sat and told people who didn't love basketball or something like that. That's the only ways that I could see something like this happening. It's pretty crazy. Just crazy. I'm so glad that Jabari Smith Jr. was the third pick in the draft. I mean, he's the number one guy on the big board. This is an A plus pick. This is a franchise defining pick. Him and Jalen Green are going to dominate the West for years to come. The Rockets are by far the biggest winners of this draft. Uh, the craziest thing is that is this is going to be like a Jason Tatum thing where he went three and everybody looks back at it like, man, everybody else who got drafted above him was completely the wrong choices. And you know, it's the Rockets got extremely lucky. Extremely lucky. This type of thing doesn't happen very often where a guy like that falls to the three. So it's amazing. Amazing. The fact that he just went three. Insanity. The Sacramento Kings, I thought I thought they'd make a play for a trade because I think Jaden Ivey's intriguing enough for a lot of people to make a move on him, an aggressive move where they give up a lot of assets, but we'll see what happens. Crazy though, this first round. Man, amazing. Crazy. Who would have guessed? Wow. Sacramento Kings doing Sacramento Kings things. Drafting Keegan Murray number 4 on my big board. He was the 12th best player. I think he's very, very overrated. I think they're really going to look back and regret this pick in a few years when everybody realizes how special Jaden Ivey is. This is a terrible pick. Terrible. I give this a D minus, maybe even a F. I don't even think Keegan Murray is the best forward on left on the board. I think Tari Eason is. This is just. I mean, he's a 6'8" guy that posts in college most of the way. He scores his great stat line of like 24 points per game. Is a 6'8" posting player. He's not elite enough athletically to post like that in college. And you can only find like 5 plays of him coming off ball as the guard coming off ball and stuff like that. And he's just I don't understand the hype with him. I can understand him being a decent player in the NBA, but this is just not a top 5 pick in the draft at all. This is gonna bust. And then it's Sacramento Kings like. The Sacramento Kings have done a terrible job drafting for quite a while, and sadly, it's going to continue here. This is a really bad draft pick. I wouldn't have touched him with a 10-foot pole this high up. It's a no for me. No for me. Um, yeah, crazy. Crazy. I would have never guessed in a gazillion years this would be how the top 5 worked out. And it's insane. Yeah, crazy. Wow. Detroit Pistons just got lucky as all get out. If Jaden Ivey doesn't go here, I'll be amazed. And the fact that Jaden Ivey fell to 5, how lucky are the Pistons? Crazy. So, it's pretty crazy that the draft has worked out this way so far. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I just can't believe that this is the picks. So, Mr. Amazed. Amazing draft so far, man. Jaden Ivey goes 5. Yeah, that's a very. I knew that one was coming. It was pretty obvious that he would go 5 there. Detroit Pistons definitely made the right choice there. Him and Cade Cunningham are going to be a serious combo for a while. Detroit Pistons, that's a plus draft pick. I'm so impressed that the draft board fell that way for them, and they should be very excited for the future with that guy there. That was the perfect pick. Indiana Pacers choosing Benedict Mathurin makes a lot of sense. I definitely uh, can see where they're going there with that, and I really feel like it's it's a really impressive thing. I'm really glad about it. Benedict Matherin's really the right choice. I would choose him.